The Buick Enclave is a capable ride, and I am surprised with the power, the capability, and the feature sets that you get. The 2025 model got a little bit of a redesign on the outside, but the inside is where you're going to see all of the big changes. Pricing for the Enclave in Canada starts at around $62,800 versus $47,100 down in the US, depending on which trim level that you look at and what other packages that you've added on. This one is the Sport Touring trim, and it has pretty much every available feature. The Avenir would be the best one to go for if you want all of the features like massage chair seats and some other neat ones, but the ST is a pretty good mid-ground. This one is in the Moonstone Gray Metallic, and while this color choice isn't one that I would normally go for, it does go pretty nicely with all of the highlights you'll find from the ST model. Inside of the Enclave, you're going to find a few different style wheels that are available. 20-inch at a minimum, up to 22-inch maximum when you look at the Avenir trim level. One thing that I would like to see, painted calipers inside of the ride. I know some people might find it a little tacky, but to see some of that Buick red or blue, I think it would look kind of nice. You're going to find the Enclave either front wheel or all-wheel drive. So US has it front wheel with optional all-wheel drive, versus in Canada, strictly looking at an all-wheel drive option, which I don't think is a bad thing. Canadian winters, all-wheel drive go way better. Like front-wheel drive is okay with a good set of winters, but all-wheel drive gives you good handling. And one great thing is the all-wheel drive models give you the flexibility of switching into a front-wheel drive only mode, which means that you get really, really good fuel economy inside of this SUV. Nice. The suspension system inside of the Enclave is really good. Oh, this isn't even the Avenir, which is the highest available trim level that has continuously damping suspension, which is just going to leave you or give you an overall ride quality that's better than the traditional suspension system. This is still really good though. The grille inside of the ride looks great. I love that ST design with that blacked out ST badge along the very bottom. You're going to find the forward park sensing system along with a front-facing camera. And while I can appreciate the 360 view and I love the quality of the forward and reverse cameras, I would like to see that screen real estate used a little bit more. But outside of that, there is also the option for park assist, so the vehicle can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking in and out of spaces. It's an amazing system. Regardless of the trim level that you're in, you're always going to find LED headlamps inside of this ride. But when you get into the Avenir trim, they offer dynamic bending, so they can follow the road right or left as you turn, so it helps to illuminate, which is useful later on at night. But the LED lamps, regardless of the trim that you're in, do look pretty solid at the same time. Underneath the hood of the Enclave, there's only a single engine choice that's available, and that's a 2.5-liter turbocharged engine. Pushes out an impressive 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. So, let's get back up to highway speed here in 3, 2, and... 100. Not bad. I wasn't even using the paddle shifters there, which are available as an option too, but that is really acceptable performance. Again, for a vehicle this size. Now, granted, I'm the only one sitting in it right now, and there's nothing. I'm not towing anything. There's no gear, things like that, but that was pretty solid overall. One of the big benefits of this turbocharged engine is that you have more horsepower and torque, and it also offers you better fuel economy. So while you're not looking at a naturally aspirated engine underneath the hood anymore, the trade-off that you get for more power and better fuel economy, I think is kind of worth it. But underneath the hood here is pretty straightforward. I really like the way that Buick's designed this. You've got all of your necessary components covered off. You can easily check change oil if you're doing work yourself. There's easy access to the battery, along with topping up your wiper fluid along the right-hand side. And then the warranty inside of the Buick world is similar to other GM vehicles. So your basic is going to be a 3-year, 36,000 mile, 60,000 kilometer. Powertrain gets bumped up to 5 years, 60,000 mile, 100,000 kilometers. So just do yourself a favor, regularly scheduled maintenance, regular oil changes to get the best possible life you can out of this ride. Looking at the size of the Enclave, so I'm 6 feet tall for reference sake. It's a big SUV, seating for 7 people, which is great. And there is the option for crossbars, so if you need roof rack rails for a top carrier, you will find that available as an option. But getting inside the ride, first row, easy enough, plenty of space. Second row, equally as easy. I'll show you the third row in just a second, but you are going to find assist handles across all 4 doors inside of this ride. The side view mirrors inside of the Enclave are power folding. They've got turn signals built in. There's a 360 camera, so side mounted cam. There's also a blind spot monitoring system. They're heated and they're auto dimming. So if somebody's behind you later on at night flashing their high beams out, it's gonna dim for you automatically. There's intelligent access, so as long as you've got the fob on you, you can push there to lock or unlock the doors. Get to that interior in a second. You're gonna find the option for driver's seat memory, along with basic controls to your side view mirrors, some window controls with some storage down low, and the release for the trunk. On the inside, basic pedals with your hood release, the regular carpeted mats. There is an illumination package available that would give you sills that light up. You've got power adjustable seats inside of every trim level, but inside of the Avenir trim, so the highest available option, you're also going to find massage chair seats for the first row. Beautiful. But let's see. Oh, so the seat's as far down as it's going to go out already, and I've got, it's ridiculous, like 5+ inches of headspace inside of this ride. This is wild, and I'm 6 feet tall. So 6'5", 6'6" even, maybe even taller, you'll be able to sit inside of this ride. Nice. And this is the ebony interior, and I gotta say that black with that black headliner, love it. Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Buick Enclave. This is the 2025 Plus models, which gives us this nice wraparound screen that kind of connects the cluster screen with the infotainment. But let's dive in. I'll show you everything you need to know. First thing is that the steering wheel inside the ride is going to be manual telescoping in the lower trims, with the Avenir being power telescoping. So the Avenir would have the adjusting button along the left-hand side, versus in the other options manual, just down the center column. In order to go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it in order to lock it back into place. The steering wheel, since this is the ST, is also flat bottom, but inside of the preferred, so the entry-level trim, along with the Avenir, you're looking at a regular rounded wheel, but the steering wheel is comfortable overall. So many different buttons in stock. So let's start off with the one on the left-hand side. This is going to be for your blinkers, flashing out your high beams, and then there's a button on the tip of the left stick. If you tap that lightly, that's going to give you just a single windshield wipe. But if you push and hold, that's going to be your front wiper fluid. And then you can use the rockers in the middle in order to adjust out your wiper speed. So the one on the left is for the wiper in the front. The one on the right is your rear wiper. So if you push up or down, that's going to give you your rear wiper fluid too. Simple. Now with your lights, you've got your high beams. I'm in the auto light mode right now, so that means that I can only flash my high beams out. But if you look at controls, you've got options so you can turn on the dome lighting, camera traction control, etc. There's the option for park assist too, where the vehicle can help out with parallel perpendicular parking. If you want to walk through and how that's done, check down in the description. But we're looking for lights. So along the bottom of the screen, you can tap here to get to some light options. But inside of controls, you've got a bunch of other options. So you've got auto high beam, because I'm in the auto headlamp mode, and I'd recommend going that route. Because if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. But if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, you just have to be in the headlamp mode. So the bottom mode there, you could then push away to turn your high beams on, pull towards you, or push away again in order to turn them off. It's just that when you're in this auto mode with auto high beams enabled, the high beam is going to be done automatically. But you could flash it out regardless if you'd like to. So that's pretty straightforward. Stick along the right-hand side is your shifter. So just hit the brake, pull in towards you to go into neutral. You're going to flip up for reverse, down for drive, and then release, and then there's a button on the tip of the right stick in order to put yourself into park. The car has paddle shifters, so you've got your minus on the left-hand side, plus on the right. So if you wanted to drop gears in order to shoot up your RPMs, in order to pass somebody easier, you can do that. If you wanted to also rely on engine braking, you could do that too. In order to actually use the paddle shifters here, you just have to be in drive and hit the L button on the bottom left side of the steering wheel. That'll put you into the low gear, and then you'd be able to flip out to whatever gear you'd like to from there. But if you actually want to see paddle shifters in person, along with a deeper explanation of how and why you want to use them, check down in the description of this video. Then there are buttons behind the steering wheel. So there are ones along the left-hand side, and that's going to let you change between all of your available preset stations. You can set up presets inside of the infotainment system, and then along the right side is going to be your volume adjusting. So you can adjust volume this way. Just on the center, there's also the option for adjusting your volume this way. You can take that same rotary dial and push it in to mute your audio. Button push again in order to bring it back. And if you do a push and hold, that's going to turn the screen into more of a calming view for the infotainment. And then so many different buttons. So we'll start off with the ones along the, let's go left-hand side. So these are going to be for cruise control. So you've got 3 different types of cruise. At a minimum, you're at least going to have traditional and then adaptive cruise. And then there's also the option for SuperCruise, which is full hands-free driving. In order to use cruise control, you toggle it on this way. Once you get up to speed or whatever speed you like, you push down to set and then increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by pushing up or down. If you push and hold up or push and hold down, that'll bring you to the nearest 5 or 0. So let's say if you have it set at 37, push and hold up, it'll bring you to 40, 45, 50, etc. Push and hold down, it'll do the opposite. Then you've got this one, which is a gap adjustment. So when you're using the adaptive cruise control system, it's how close or far do you want to be away from that vehicle that's in front of you. I would recommend level 1 on just residential streets, stop and go traffic. You might want to be on level 3, but it just depends on your own personal comfort level. And then, like I said, there's technically 3 different types of cruise. So this is the adaptive cruise. So let's say if you set it at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to brake. They change lanes, you change lanes, it'll pick you back up to your set speed. Then there's your old school traditional cruise. In order to set that up, you have your cancel button. So with cruise control enabled, you can hit the brake to pause, you can hit the cancel button to pause, push up to resume. But to move to traditional cruise, you take that cancel button, and if you push and hold it for a few seconds, that is going to put you into a regular cruise control. You take that same button, push and hold again to move back to adaptive. But your old school cruise or regular cruise is exactly that. You set it at 80, let's say the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. So you just have to be paying more attention. And then there's the option for the SuperCruise feature, and that's full hands-free driving. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using the SuperCruise and the cruise control features, check down in the description of this video for a live demo. From there, you've got your low gear as well. You have to be in drive in order to get there. And then there's a voice command prompt where you can do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice. You can adjust climate with your voice and so many other things. On top of that, if you have your phone connected, so Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, etc., you do a long push and hold. That is going, if you don't have a phone connected, let you connect a phone. But if you've got a phone connected, it would either launch your Siri or your Google Assistant. The buttons along the right-hand side, tons of options here too. So you've got a button for the heated steering wheel, so toggle that on or off. You can move this up and down in order to go between all of your available radio stations. From there, you can hit the OK button along the right-hand side in the middle in order to select whatever station. You can answer or hang up on a phone call. You can do this in order to button press to change your audio sources too. So you'd be able to move into any of your available sources, but again, just using your voice to change stations. 94.9 FM.
Okay, streaming 94.9 FM.
I think it's a way easier way to do it. Obviously, unless you've got your presets set up. From there, there's a button here, and that's going to let you change between 3 individual views. So you've got your basic view, a map view, and then more of like a calming view for driver assistance, back to that basic view. Inside of the cluster, you've got your trip counter along the left-hand side. Through your vehicle status, you've got your maintenance information, so tire pressure, brake life, things like that. Different gauges that were available, so coolant, oil pressure, etc. You can also push this info into the cluster screen. So if you tap, let's say, coolant, you can then add it to the display. So if you'd want your coolant info there, you could do that. If you wanted your trip counters there, whether that's overall fuel economy, your current trip, current information, you could add that into the driver display. And you've also got the option of resetting your trip counter. So reset 1 versus 2. So I do like that you've got the flexibility of customizing that part out if you'd like to. From there, whether or not you've got your cruise control systems enabled, disabled, yay or nay. You've got your current fuel gauge done 2 different ways, so your current mileage until empty, along with the gear that you're currently in, so park reverse, neutral drive, etc. If you've got forward reverse park sensing systems, those would show up, letting you know if you're close to obstacles either way. The number of people that have their seatbelts on, so if it recognizes weight on the seat, whether or not those people are plugged in. And then you've also got your drive mode. This is going to be for your parking brake. So to toggle your parking brake on, you're just going to push the little P button. In order to toggle the parking brake off, just foot on the brake, tap it again in order to turn it off. There's a mode selector, so you'd be able to figure out which drive mode that you're in with 4 unique options. You're going to be in that tour mode the majority of the time, sport mode if you want better performance overall, and there's some other different modes that are available. You can move yourself into either, if you've got all-wheel drive, so either front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive setup. Benefit is that your front-wheel drive, you'll get way better fuel economy. There's an auto hold setting, so with this one enabled, what's going to happen is if you come down to a complete stop, you take your foot off the brake, the car is not going to move. And then there's the auto start stop system. With this one enabled, what's going to happen is you come down to a stop, the engine might turn off. You could deactivate that if you'd like to, but every time you turn the car off and then back on again, you have to re-enable or disable, or I should say disable it if you'd like, because it's automatically going to come back on for each ignition cycle. And then you've also got a dimmer switch in order to be able to adjust the brightness of the cluster screen. Along the left-hand side of the cluster, you can also adjust the head-up display. So if yours has the head-up display, you can toggle it off if you'd like to, but then you can also adjust out individual elements. So you could adjust the brightness. I always recommend keep yourself on maximum brightness. Swiping across to another screen, you can adjust the height, so do you want it moving up or down? And then you can also adjust the rotation, just depending on how you typically sit inside of your seat. This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Buick Enclave, and this is for the 2025 plus models. If you're in a previous gen version, the buttons, the layouts, and things like that are slightly different, but the functionality is exactly the same. If I'm able to get into one of those last generation versions, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description, but let's dive in and I'll show you what you need to know. So starting off, along the outside, you've got your current time along with your current outside temperature. You tap the time, you can adjust it out. You've also got an option here for user profiles, and you can add in multiple profiles. One of the benefits there is that once you've got a profile set up, you'll be able to adjust different things out. So did you want to connect your Gmail account to it? Yes or no? You could rename it, but you can also add in security. So if you wanted to have a profile lock, so a pattern pin or a password, you can lock out your profile so people can't look through all of the different settings that you've saved in. So again, very useful if you've got multiple people driving, but even just for general safety. But for each individual profile that you've got set up, you'd be able to set up different options for your maps, for your phone, for your presets and audio, things like that. So if multiple people are driving, set them up. But even for yourself, I'd recommend at least setting up your own unique profile and then locking it out using a pattern pin or a password. You've got a series of other icons along the outside. So the top 2 are locked into place. So you've got your basic home button there if you wanted to jump back to the home screen. And then you've got this little guy, which brings you up to this option here. And you have the flexibility of customizing this look a little bit. So if you hit the little edit icon there, you can switch it out. So do you want your trip information, Google Maps, or audio showing as the main screen? So those are the only options that you can jump between there, but you've at least got a little bit of flexibility if you'd like. And then you've got 4 other icons along the bottom, and these ones are customizable. So if you push and hold, you could then change up the icon layout. But you can also swap it out with these icons. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you wanted a button push for park assist. You can adjust that out. Maybe you wanted to have your controls up there. You can adjust it out that way. So these 4 are fully customizable. Top 2 are locked into place. And then you've got so many different settings and options. So you can tap here in order to launch the assistant, and you can do things like change radio stations. You can navigate using your voice. You'll be able to control climate and things like that using your voice too. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but rather than fiddling with the screen, you can adjust most things out. There's a voice command prompt. You can tap on the steering wheel, and you can also say, "Hey Google," and that's going to launch into your assistant that way. Next up is Maps. And this is Google Maps. So this is a full Android device. So that means you've got all of your great services like PlayStore, etc. But if we hop into Maps for a second, it's Google Maps. So these exact same as if you were running maps on your phone. Along the outside, you could hit there in order to search for an address. So if we navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.4 kilometers away.
So you'd be able to navigate using your voice that way. Along the outside, you can tap this in order to be able to show high traffic. There's guidance audio, so do you want to have muted routes, alerts, mute, etc. So you could go that way to do it, and then you can also tap this way if you'd like to. So unmuted means you're going to get turn-by-turn notifications with a voice assistant. So it's essentially a beep and a voice. You can get nothing or strictly an alert if you'd like to. You could adjust out your route options. So do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that? You'd have that flexibility. If you wanted to, download offline maps, because maybe you're going somewhere where you're not going to have an active data connection. You'll be able to download maps too to still be able to use your navigation as you go. From here, you could change up your heading this way. You've got full pinch to zoom capabilities, but you can also use this if you'd like to, recenter it back onto you. Along the top right side, there's also this, and you can sign into your Google account. So if you're signed into your Google account on your phone, so your Gmail account, and you've been searching Google Maps, any map that you've searched for, any address you've searched for would essentially pull up on your phone, from your phone into the infotainment system. It's pretty neat. And then searching for addresses is really straightforward. So I don't know, maybe if you wanted to go, actually, let's do this again. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.4 kilometers away.
So let's choose
Navigate to that one.
That's a little bit, let's go to this one here. So from here, I've chosen one that's a little bit further away, because if you want to, you can hit this. And that's going to give you the option of moving between different route choices. So you can choose between different options there. You can avoid different things on the route too. And then you could add an additional stop in. So let's say if you're going to go to Tim Hortons, but maybe you also want to fill up on gas. So we're going to go to a gas station and see what's available. So they'll see what's available along the route. Canada is along the way there anyway, so we may as well do that and add in a stop. You could then take the little hamburger icon here and drag it around. So maybe you wanted to stop for gas first before you grabbed your coffee. Maybe you don't want to grab the coffee anymore. You can do that and then just tap done. And then we hit there. That's going to get the route going. And then once the route's actively going there, it's going to show you your turn-by-turn directions inside of the cluster screen. If you've got a head-up display, it'll also show you your turn-by-turn directions there. On top of that, you can hit this button along the steering wheel in order to jump into, watch this, a full mapping cluster view. So you've got this, so driver assistance view, your basic view, and then mapping cluster. I mean, that's pretty neat. You can tap the X icon there in order to be able to cancel your route out. And then you've got all of the addresses that you've searched for previously with all of your available point of interest icons. But that's using factory navigation. It's really simple, which means next up is adding in a phone. So as of right now, you can see no phones are connected. Tap on manage phone and then add a phone in. Starting off on the iPhone, we're going to go to Bluetooth and just waiting for Buick 7237 or whatever your Buick name is. There we go to pop up. And it'll take a second here. PIN numbers match up, so pair and pair. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes. And you can stop here. So we're connected over Bluetooth, so you can make phone calls and you can also stream audio if you'd like to. But you can also use wireless Apple CarPlay. It is backwards compatible, so if you wanted to use either a USB Type A or a USB Type C cable, you'd have that flexibility. You just need to make sure if it's the larger USB Type A, it needs to have the data transfer icon on there. But we've got wireless, so let's use wireless. Use CarPlay, and in just a second here, let's hit OK. And CarPlay should launch it in a second. If it doesn't, tap CarPlay icon, and look at that. We've got Apple CarPlay. Amazing. Along CarPlay here, you've got your current time, connection, and battery level. These are apps that were last opened. So your last map, audio application, miscellaneous application. You can tap there to go to a basic icon view. Tap again in order to go to a little split screen. Pretty neat. Now the home screen here is kind of customizable. So you'll always have whatever map was open last. You've got a search box, audio box, and then if you've got a calendar notification coming up today that hasn't come up yet, that's going to show up. If you didn't have a calendar notification today, that would go away, and it would be the search box and your audio box stretched across the top. But you can tap there. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze that are available. The downside is that you've got no pinch to zoom capabilities here on the CarPlay side of things. So we could zoom in and out this way. I'm a bigger fan of using Waze because if there are speed traps, so cops pulling people over, if there are traffic accidents, people are pretty good at marking that stuff off. You can mark things off too. So if you notice a speed trap, crashes, hazards on the road, you can give other drivers a heads up. But you've got all sorts of map applications, like I said. Live One's a radio app. Hoopla's a library app. You've got YouTube Music, so strictly music, no video playback support inside of Apple CarPlay. You've got podcasts that are available too, so audiobooks, things like that. So many options. If you tap Settings, you can customize this screen a tiny little bit. You can turn on driving focus, you could change the appearance out, but you can adjust your wallpaper. So maybe there's a color scheme that you like more. You can adjust it out if you'd like to. Pretty neat. You can also adjust the icon layout. But before we get there, there's a voice command prompt on the steering wheel. If you do a light tap, that's going to be the assistant for the vehicle. If you do a long push and hold, that is going to activate your Siri assistant. So short button push is the assistant for the vehicle. Long is for your phone assistant. And then if you wanted to customize the layout, what you're going to do, go to your vehicle, or your phone settings, I should say. Settings, you're going to go to General and then CarPlay, find your vehicle. You can forget it, customize, or turn CarPlay off. But let's say if you can't even get to this step because CarPlay's not working for you, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough on some different things you can try to fix CarPlay if it's not working. But we want to go customize here, and there are so many options. Maybe you want your podcast along the top, and you're a bigger fan of, maybe you want to have Waze up there too. You could just do a push and hold in order to be able to adjust any of these icons and drag them around. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So it removes it, but it saves it along the bottom of the phone, so you could add it back in. If you've played around with the icon layout too much and you don't like what you've done, on your phone, along the top right side, there's a reset option. So you're just gonna tap reset, and that just brings you back to that factory default screen. If you're on the home screen, you can tap back into CarPlay that way. I've got the icon set up here for CarPlay too, but let's say if it wasn't there, so maybe you had another option there and you'd prefer to have CarPlay. You could just push and hold in order to have a button there for CarPlay. And if we go into Settings, Connections, well, I guess on this one, you can toggle CarPlay off completely if you'd like to. Tapping into phones gets you back to this screen so you can look at different options. First to connect, you want it to listen for, hey Siri, things like that. Or you could switch back out to Bluetooth. So if you don't want to use CarPlay features, you just want Bluetooth calling and media, you've got that flexibility. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Enclave. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on this screen, what you do is just go into Settings, Connections, Phones, and then hit this little plus icon there. And then as of right now, so I'm connected to the iPhone still, so we're just going to tap Switch Phones. And then on your Android, you're just going to pull up your Bluetooth settings, and we're looking for whatever your vehicle name is there. There we go. And pin numbers there match up, so OK and pair. There we go. Do you want all access to messages and contacts? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. And again, you can stop here if you just want to be connected over Bluetooth, or you can enable Android Auto. See what I do? It's got backwards compatibility, so if you wanted to use a USB cable, you could. But a few seconds in, welcome to Android Auto. Okay, and look at that. Fully connected to Android Auto too. Love it. Along the outside of Android Auto here, so you've got some basics. So this is Google Maps for Android Auto. You can tap this in order to get to a little icon of you. Back to your home screen, you've got your assistant for Android Auto. So there are two different Android assistants because of this screen. So there's your assistant for the screen. So a light button push will bring up the assistant for the screen. Long button push and hold is going to bring up the assistant for your phone. From there, you've got some basic icons along the very bottom there, along with your current connection and your battery level. Now on this device, I do have Waze installed. So you can see there, I've got Waze installed there. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on how you can add Waze to Android Auto. And then if we go back to this screen for a second, so you've got this little split screen, but if you tap the map icon there, that's going to bring you into a fuller screen. Tap again this way in order to get to the little split screen. Then you could also customize the icon layout this way. So if you'd like to, you're going to search for Android Auto, go to Android Auto settings, and you've got so many options. But we're looking for customize launcher. Customize launcher there, and you can see the icon layout. Anything with a check mark next to it, you could get rid of it if you'd like to, but you can add things back in. If you wanted to, you could also customize the layout. So all you're going to do, drag along the outside, and then push and hold in order to be able to adjust these out. So you could adjust up the layout a little bit if you'd like to. In order for the changes that you've made here to come into effect, all you have to do, hop home, go to your settings, go to your connections, go to your phones. You're going to disconnect from Android Auto. You're going to reconnect to Android Auto. And when we launch back in, the changes that we made to the icons have now come into effect. So straightforward. If you hop back into your connections again, back into your phones, you've got both phones that have been connected. So you could disconnect, Android Auto reconnect over Bluetooth. You can tap options there to show first to connect. And the benefit there is that if you've got multiple phones connected, it's who's it going to try to connect to first. You can change out the connection type. So do you want either Bluetooth calling and Android Auto, I should say, media source priority, or you can forget the phone and forget. And we've deleted that phone, and same idea, let's go ahead and forget this other phone and forget. And you're set to go, but it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of this ride. And next up, so you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. They're grayed out because I don't have a phone connected. Next up is going to be your audio. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s on there, those would all show up as available options. On AM, FM, or SiriusXM, you can hit this little guy in order to be able to manually tune this way if you'd like to. So that's easy. You can tap there again in order to see all of your available stations. But if you hop into this here, you could manage your radio favorites. So you can see all of the available stations that you've got saved. So if you wanted to, you could just go ahead. If you wanted to start fresh, let's just go ahead and delete all of these presets. So what we're doing is just deleting presets here. And if we hop back again now, let's start fresh, and you've got all of your available stations. So all you're going to do is navigate through and save in whatever stations you're a fan of listening to. And the big benefit of doing this is that in behind the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you're going to find buttons, and that's going to let you change between all of your available presets. You could then add in however many presets you want. So AM, FM, Sirius XM. If you tune to whatever station, you could then push and hold there if you wanted to be able to save into another station. And it's a mix of AM, FM, and Sirius XM. So if we go to Sirius XM for a second, if you're a big fan of this station, or if you wanted to adjust out, so rock, hop, hip hop, etc., move into any of these options, and then you can push and hold in order to overwrite, or push and hold in order to save a new station. On the SiriusXM side of things, you can show related, play the artist station, play pause, hit there in order to get to all of your available category views too, and then back home. So using audio is pretty straightforward, but that's using radio inside of the ride. Tapping this gets you some options for your sound settings. So do you want to adjust out your bass, mid-range, and treble? What I'd recommend here is play one of your favorite songs, and while it's playing, adjust it out until it sounds perfect for you. I've personally found something like this works inside of the Enclave, but you might find something different. You can bring it back to 0 if you'd like to, and then adjust it out until it sounds good for you. You want it focused on the people in the first row, second row, driver, passenger, back to middle again, and back. You've got your camera there too, so you've got your front view, overhead, side by side. You could look at your back view too, so you've got different options there. You can hit this in order to show your top-down view. Your guidelines, do you want those showing, yay or nay? It's available. There's ambient lighting available inside of the ride where you can adjust out individual colors. It does look really sharp at nighttime. You can adjust out the brightness too. So if you could toggle it off completely, make it brighter or darker. The vehicle has park assist. It can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking in and out. So for the left or the right-hand side. But if you want to walk through on how to actually use park assist, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough on that system. Climate control settings are available here too. So you've got digital climate available this way, and then you've got your basic climate control settings just underneath the screen. So you can toggle climate on or off, put it to an auto mode. There's technically tri-zone climate, so you can adjust that out. You could adjust your speed, max defroster, rear defroster too. And then inside of the screen, so many other options that are available. So the rear seats, you could lock it out if you'd like to, so people in the second row can't adjust their climate. You can have that going to their face and feet, toggle it off, adjust everything for the first row here. And then as you adjust it, you can see it's adjusting it through the screen that way too. You can tap this in order to get to some different options. So climate and air quality, I'll get to that one last. And from there, series of different controls that are available. So you can toggle on the overhead dome light if you'd like to. You can lock out the windows, bring up your camera. You can toggle traction control on or off. The only reason that you'd want to do this is if you're driving around and you're getting wheel slippage, so snowy conditions, etc. You've got your high beam mode that's available too, and then park assist. But if you tap more controls, that gives you other options. So do your doors, windows, etc. Do you want to lock these out? You've got options for your liftgate height, so you can even customize it so that it stops at a certain point. Options for your drive, so traction control, there's lane assistance, so it's going to nudge you back into your lane. We can tell that it's on because of these lanes there, so you can toggle the system on, off as necessary. There's a speed limiter available too, with 3 unique levels, so manual, auto versus off. What this one does is that you can essentially have it set so that you can't go faster than a certain speed, or you can have the vehicle make it so that you can only go as fast as the posted road speed too. I'm not a fan of that one, but you could adjust it out if you'd like. Options for parking, so your park assist system, and then universal remote if you've got a garage door opener at home. From there, you've got a Wi-Fi hotspot that's available. There's Buick along with a My Buick app where you can do things like remote start, lock, unlock the doors, things like that. You've got news. There's the PlayStore that's available too, so you'd be able to download a bunch of different apps directly to the screen. In order to do it, all you have to do is sign into your account. So you just tap sign in, and then on your phone afterwards, you're going to get a little QR code. Just scan that using your camera, pull it up, and just log into your Gmail account. There we go. And after you've signed in, you're going to get this little message inside there. We're signed in, so let's go ahead and done. Look at that. Okay, so we do have this set up now. And you can see here, you can explore all apps. You can see different options. So I'm a big fan of using Waze. So you could install Waze directly to the vehicle. So rather than using Google Maps, you can use that instead. The benefit here of being signed into the Google Play Store is that it's linked it to my profile, but inside of Maps now, any addresses that I've searched for on my phone have now pulled up here. So pretty useful. And let's see, we've got a series of different settings that are available. Connections, you've got phones, you can disable Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. If we go back to our phones here, you can add in different devices if you'd like to. So many different options for your vehicle. So there are audio settings there, which we've already seen. So adjusting your treble, mid-range, and bass, managing your preset stations. There's a teen driver available too, so you'd essentially be able to take a key fob and make certain limitations. So you can't go past a certain speed, things like that. Rear seat reminder, if the second row doors have been opened up, you go to turn the vehicle off, you'll get a little message in the cluster telling you to check the back seats. SuperCruise lane change. So there are 3 unique options that are available here. So off, turn signal, or automatic. So with the SuperCruise system enabled, if you're in the turn signal activated, you hit left or right. And what it's going to do is check on either side of the vehicle. So if you've got it left, it's going to look off to the left. If there's space available, it's going to automatically change lanes for you there. But in the automatic mode, it's a step above. So let's say if you've got it set at 80 on the highway, the car in front of you is going too slow, it's going to automatically put on the turn signal for you. It'll change lanes for you. And then over and above that, it can also pull you back into the lane that you were in. So it's essentially passing a slower vehicle for you automatically. It is a really cool system, but you can toggle it off completely. If you didn't have SuperCruise inside of your ride, that just wouldn't show up. Options for air quality, I recommend keeping auto defog defrost on. When you go to start the vehicle up, do you want your heated seats on, yay or nay? It's summertime now, so that's not a good idea. Collision detection systems, you've got a series of options here. So you've got an alert type. With this one, it's kind of neat. So you can either get a beep or you can get an alert vibration. So let's say if you've got your vehicle in reverse, drive, etc., and there's an obstacle in behind you, your seat is actually going to vibrate. It's the oddest feeling, but kind of neat at the same time. There's automatic emergency braking, so if the vehicle recognizes you're potentially going to get into a collision, it can brake for you. Same thing if it recognizes a pedestrian. If you're at an intersection and there's an accident, it can brake for you there too. If you go into cruise control, you can get a notification inside of the cluster. Let's see, park assist with braking. So as you go to back up, if there is an obstacle in behind you there, it can automatically brake for you. And then if it recognizes that there's a pedestrian there too, it can also give you a heads up letting you know. Comfort and convenience, you've got chime volumes there. So any volume that you get for reminders, things like that, you can set the unique volume. Actually, I'm not a fan of having that one up. Let's turn it as far down as we can. With your power liftgate, do you want to have it so that it opens up to the very highest? Custom, you can set your own unique height, or you can turn it off completely, which means it's going to be just a manual liftgate. Hands-free access is pretty neat. So with this one turned on, if you walk up towards the back end with the key fob on you, it's going to automatically open up that liftgate for you. Do you want your mirrors to tilt? Yes or no? So driver, passenger side, or both. So where this comes into play is, let's say, flip yourself into reverse. You can see there, the mirrors are going to tilt down. So that's driver, passenger side, or whatever you've got it set to. You put yourself back into park, and it's going to pull those side view mirrors up for you. I'm not a fan of that one, so I'm just going to keep that off. When you go to lock the vehicle, do you want these side view mirrors to automatically fold in for you? If you've got your front windshield wipers going, and then you put yourself into reverse, it's automatically going to turn on the rear wiper for you. Attention assist, if you start to either veer over too many times with signaling, or if you're yawning too much, etc., you could have nothing happen, or it can also give you a heads up, letting you know that you should probably take a break. Lighting, ambient lighting is available there. Your vehicle locator light, so if you want to find your vehicle, hit the lock button on the vehicle, and you'll get notification lights on the outside. When you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off, or do they stay on for up to 2 minutes? Power door locks. Auto door unlock. Do you want all doors to become unlocked? Strictly the driver's door. Delayed door lock too. Nothing exciting there. Remote lock, unlock, and start. Do you want to get feedback when you go to lock the vehicle? I personally am a big fan of that one. At least a horn so that you know that you've actually locked the door, but you can get a light flash and the horn. When you go to unlock the doors, do all doors become unlocked or strictly the driver's door? Pretty good from a safety perspective. Let's see. Relock doors. When you remote start the vehicle, do you want the heated seats to come on? There's also a remote window operation too, where you can use the key fob to roll the windows down. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how those ones work. In order to remote start, what you're going to do is press the lock button once and circle button twice. So you're just going to go lock, circle twice. See there that we're remote started. In order to cancel the remote start, just push and hold that circle button again, and remote start's now canceled. Getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. So you can double push the button on the key fob there. There's also the option for hands-free access. As long as you've got the key fob on you, all you're going to do is walk up towards the back end, and the liftgate is automatically going to open. You've got the option of setting this at a unique height too. So all you're going to do is set it to whatever height you'd like to. Once you find that perfect height, so let's say if your garage is a little bit shorter, find that height, push and hold the button here. Heard that chime, and that's going to lock it into place so it wouldn't open up past that point. And then just button push in order to close. There is one other thing that you can do with the key fob, and that's using it to roll the windows down. In order to do it, you're going to push the unlock button twice and hold in the second press. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. And watch this. Once it beeps, you can release the fob, and it's opening up all 4 windows. Some countries have the window up option where you can push the lock button twice. Unfortunately, the Enclave North American markets doesn't have it available as an option. Let's see, do you want to get a reminder if you've left the vehicle in your key fob in the vehicle? Yay, nay. Seating position with seat memory. So you've got the option of setting up your seat the way that you'd like to. You then tap set in either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. But with the easy entry exit memory, when you go to turn the vehicle off, it's essentially going to back the seat up and lower it in order for you to get in and out of the vehicle easier. From here, you can put the vehicle into transport mode, different options for notifications, nothing exciting there at all. Different apps that were available, so you could see all of the different apps on the vehicle. If they're being used, yay or nay, you can adjust the date and time. Do you prefer military time, so that 12 versus 24-hour mode? They're grayed out because we're in automatic. So if you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it constantly flips you from one time zone to the other, you can permanently lock in another time zone if you'd like to. I recommend keeping it in the auto mode, and it's the same thing with the date and time. So if you wanted to manually adjust that out, you could. And back, you've got options for the display. So right now, we're in the auto mode. So you can permanently lock it in to the day or the light mode, just depending on your own personal preference. But auto means it's automatically going to adjust out the brightness of the infotainment, just based off of how bright it is outside. 2 options for cluster. So if you've got a route going, it would show up on the screen there. And then traffic sign recognition, yay or nay. So do you want that showing up inside of the cluster? Not a big fan of that one. You could toggle the display off there if you'd like to. And then to turn it back on, down low, you've got that button. Just push in order to bring it back on again. So same idea, so you can push and hold that in order to toggle the display off if you'd like to. Sounds, you've got your touch feedback. So the beeping we're getting here, you could toggle it off if you'd like. With your max startup, if you've got the audio cranked because you've just been rocking out, turn the vehicle off and then back on again, you can limit how loud or quiet the audio is going to be. Different options for profile, which we've already seen. Since I signed into my Gmail account, you can now see that that's available there. Privacy information, just keep the stuff on. There's nothing exciting here. Location data, you could adjust any of these things out. There's voice assistant, so you can tap the voice command prompt in order to bring up your assistant that way. You can adjust different things out too. So if you wanted to have it listen for, hey Google, you can do that. You can change up the language for your assistant too. So there are a boatload of different options for the assistant. It's just the benefit of it being a Google device. Let's see. From there, security. If you've got profiles set up, set yourself up with a pattern pin or a password so people can't just look through your profile. And then some system information. So you can adjust out your language. Do you want to be in either English, French, or Spanish? Keyboard, you can adjust that out to something different. Measurement units, another useful one. Do you want to be in either US or metric? So if you're going cross-border, you can change that out easily that way if you'd like. And it also adjusts out your temperature too. So pretty straightforward. You can reset a few different ways. You can reset all of your vehicle settings. You can fully erase the infotainment data too. So let's say if you're selling your vehicle or it's a press vehicle, so I might do a full reset, you can do it that way. You can also do a soft reboot too. I'll show you that one towards the end of this video on the infotainment. You can restart in safe mode too. So if you've downloaded an app to the vehicle and it's causing issues, you can restart in safe mode to remove that app from the vehicle. You can also do a soft screen reboot. So in order to do it, there's the little hang up button along the steering wheel. So you're just going to push and hold that for about 10 to 12 seconds or so. You're just going to keep on holding. And what we're doing is essentially forcing a soft reboot. So it's the same thing as if you were to reset your phone. But eventually, you're going to see it'll jump back a screen there. And then just release. You can see it's also reset part of the cluster screen. And then after a second, you're going to see the infotainment system turn off completely. And what it's doing is just entering a soft reboot cycle. So that should solve the majority of issues that you're facing. You can do it while you're driving too, which is beneficial. See how you can see here, but that's going to essentially reset the system. So it's going to reset. It's essentially the same thing as clearing the cache by restarting your phone. So that should solve all the issues that you're facing. There's a wireless charge pad, a few cup holders built in, an armrest that's non-lockable with a removable tray, and a great amount of space. Yeah, wrist deep. It's impressive still. Along the side, you've got this nice little highlight that follows through. Down low, there's a glove box that's non-lockable. There are two different speaker choices that you're going to find inside of this ride. They're both Bose. One of them is a 12 speaker. Inside of the Avenir, it's going to be a 16 speaker. And the audio quality is fantastic. And speaking of audio, you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, your phone was connected, things like that. A lot of different options inside of this ride. Love it. Up overhead, there's at least an auto-dimming rear view mirror. Inside of the Avenir trim, you're also going to find a rear-mounted camera, and that's essentially going to turn this into a fully digital rear view mirror too. But it does have the auto-dimming functionality. Up overhead, you've got all of your basic controls there. So OnStar, SOS mode, four-way blinkers with basic controls for your sunshade for your panoramic roof. Look at that. Just opens things up so nicely. It is really slow to open, but still, that just opens things up so nicely inside of this ride. And from there, two different controls. So you've got one for just creating like a little breeze, or opening up the roof that way. And yeah, look at that. Beautiful day. From there, actually wonder, single button press? Yes, the single button press opens it up most of the way. Secondary press is that last little bit. You're gonna find sunglasses holder up overhead. There's a little ticket receipt holder on the outside, nothing on the in, but there's a vanity mirror that has lights built in. And then this also stretches out to block most of the sun that's gonna be hitting your face. So tiny little bit depending on how you sit with your seat there. But I like it. If you look at the visibility here, I mean, that pillar is pretty low profile, so you're not going to run into any sort of visibility issues while you're driving. Oh, that's nice. All right, and second row time. Second row inside of the ride, you'll find that same highlight that you found along the driver's door. Basic window controls with some storage and a speaker. The seat is multi-way adjustable, but you can push this button in order to get into the third row. You can also use this to fold the seat flat, but there's also a bar between your legs. So if you need to move the seat forwards or backwards, you've got that flexibility. But I mean, I've got a great amount of knee space here, good amount of foot space and head space. With me sitting fully upright is a little tight. I can sit upright though, so I'm looking at about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of head space. But one cool thing, so that lever that you'd use in order to be able to fold the seat flat, you can take that, you can also give yourself a great recline. That's nice. Solid. And just back up from here. You've got a few cup holders there. You've got some HVAC controls too, so you can lock it out from the first row. So if people are fighting, you can lock it out there. There's an auto option. You can adjust it out there. Down low, you're going to find some power points. So 2 USB Type-C with 110 volt. The 110 here is not going to be standard. It is available optionally though. And then you've got a teeny little storage tray too. You're going to find a little mat pocket behind both the passenger and the driver's side. There's an assist handle. You've got some HVAC options there, along with a little light. And that's the same option here. So you've got your little assist handle. There's also your HVAC option there with your little overhead light control. And one nice thing that I like about the bench seats, getting into the third row. So one of the nice things here, you can just kind of shuffle back, which makes it easy. So this seat is as far back as it's gonna go, and that is tight. But what I did, I've got the passenger first row seat set up for myself being 6 feet, this one being set up for myself being 6 feet, and then this little feller is also set up that way too. But I mean, you can see here, I can still kind of fit, which is nice. You've got your tether points there if you need it, but is it the most comfortable third row seat out there? No, like sitting fully upright, the back of my head is touching. So I'd have to lean forward a little bit. I've got maybe 1 inch of head clearance space though, which is actually pretty nice. So could I fit back here if I needed to on a distance trip? Yes. I wouldn't want to though, because yeah, like I said, like the seat here, not overly comfortable there on the knees, but the cushion inside of the third row, it's like the forgotten seat in most manufacturers. And while it's not as comfortable as the second row seats, this is actually kind of nice. I don't mind the outboard. The middle seat though, oh yeah. Yeah, not so much. Middle seat's not really comfortable in most cars, and that's gonna be the same across the board here, but you've got your overhead seat belt. If you do have somebody here, but it's nice. You've got a power point there with some cup holders. Same there, so power point with some cup holders too. And then along both seats, you've got this little feller, and that is going to let you slide the seat forward if you want to get in and out this way. You're going to find LED tail lamps inside of the ride, and then regardless of the trim level that you're looking at, there's the reverse park sensing system, a backup camera, and you've also got the rear wiper. Now, towing is possible inside of the Enclave. One thing that I think is funny, so this one doesn't have the available tow package, but GM was forward thinking, so they at least built this in so that it just looks nicer if you do something aftermarket. If you do an aftermarket hitch receiver, you're looking at maxing out at 1,500 pound towing capacity. But when you go for the option right from the factory, that's going to increase the overall towing capacity to 5,000 pounds. So if you need the best possible towing capacity inside of the ride, go for the option from the factory. It's got an engine cooler that you're not going to be able to find if you do an aftermarket setup. So 1,500 versus 5,000, huge difference there. And getting into the trunk can be done so many different ways. There's a button along the driver's side door. You can use the key fob to do it. Just underneath the backup camera, there's a button there that you can also push. And then as long as it's enabled, there's also the option for a hands-free liftgate. Auto trunk. So you do have to make sure that it's enabled, but it is useful. I like it better than the foot activated because these will just open up. Not gonna find anything along the left-hand side. Along the right, there's a 12 volt power point. along with buttons in order to fold down the third and the second row seats. But before we get there, this is just the regular carpeted tray you're going to find. Then lifting that tray up, you're going to find a great amount of space underneath here. The cable for the block heater is also here too, which you're going to find along the front bumper, along the passenger side. And then there is a spare tire. In order to get to it, there are a whole bunch of these little clips. You just got to remove it both sides, and then you just pull the tray out. And that's going to give you access to the spare tire. And then if you need to change the tire out yourself, the jack stand is there, so you could do it. But one of the nice things about being a Buick owner is that you do also have access to roadside assistance. 5 years of coverage, and that's good for tire changing, lockout, fuel delivery, and a few other things too. It's one of the added benefits of being a Buick owner. And folding down the second and the third row seats, so you can fold down the left or the right side independently. You're just going to button, push, and hold in order to do it. One thing, you might need to move the second row seats forward a tiny little bit in order for the seat to actually fold down. Then you could also fold down the second row seats from the inside, which makes sense if you need to move them forward. But if not, you could power release for that second row seat too. The cargo dimensions that you're looking at, the ones specifically behind the first row, they go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind that little console armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you'd lose or gain a little bit of extra space. And lifting up the second row seats, regardless of the trim, will be a manual process. And then this one, push and hold the button in order to raise it up. The only thing you have to worry about, raising up those headrests. And one neat thing about the liftgate is you can also set a unique height. So if your garage opens up to a certain point, or you can't reach the button, all you do is set it to whatever height you'd like to. Once you have it set, there's a button on the outside there. So you're just gonna push and hold that button. And then it's gonna be locked into place, so it wouldn't go past that point. Filling up fuel inside of the Enclave is done just along the driver's side. And one thing is that even with the car door locked, the fuel door is unlocked. But one nice thing, so it is a capless system, it features anti-siphon technology. So someone can't just jam a hose down there to try to siphon out fuel. Fuel quality inside of the ride, regular 87 octane. So regular fuel is all you need to use. You could use a higher octane if you wanted to, it's just not necessary. When you look at the overall fuel economy inside of this ride, that's where the 2.5 liter beats out the 3.6 from last year, from the 2024s. You get excellent fuel economy inside of this SUV, especially when you look at coasting on the highway. Picking this up, it was a little over a 65-kilometer trip, and I was able to get about 8.6 liters per 100 cruising on the highway, which is like 15 to 20% better than what GM said to expect. So I absolutely love the overall economy that you get inside of the ride when you don't drive like a donkey. So if you're the type of person where the light turns green and you gun it, you're gonna get worse fuel economy. But if you granny drive it, or you're just a little bit more of a casual driver, you do get pretty good fuel economy inside of this ride. And one thing that I'm noticing here is how incredibly quiet the interior of this car is. Well, SUV, car, automotive, however you want to say it, but it is incredibly quiet. Just on a residential street right now, so let's go ahead. Wow. Hop onto the highway. See what we can expect here. All right, some en route handling. Okay. Nice. It's good. The 2.5 liter engine, while it's not the most powerful engine, for a vehicle this size, it's more than enough to power it. More than enough, because there are cars that are this size and bigger that have smaller engines, but this one has a good amount of horsepower and torque based off of the vehicle size. And the best part is that this car also has SuperCruise, which is full hands-free driving. So when it's available, you'll get a message inside of the cluster screen letting you know that it's available there. And then once you toggle it on, once it's available, full hands-free driving, which I love. So you can take your feet off the gas and the brake, hands off the steering wheel, and there's even an option for an auto lane change feature. And what that'll do is if you're in whatever lane and traffic's going too slow, it can hit the turn stalk for you automatically and change lanes for you It is a really, really cool system. But the handling that you get here, the responsiveness, is fantastic for an SUV. That is amazing. Incredibly quiet, incredibly responsive. Suspension took it well, even doing a little bit of off-road here to do a 180. Ooh, it handled that well. And this isn't even the best suspension system that you can get, because when you look at the Avenir trim level, that has a different suspension setup. But that was pretty impressive at the same time. And that was everything you needed to know about the Buick Enclave. You can find all of the build details for this car down in the description, along with links off to Buick Canada and US. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care. Pricing for the Enclave and I was going to say in Steve. Of the Buick Enclave. There are.